My name is Nicole Byers, and I am a second-year student here at CMU, and this is my educational autobiography. I'm from a very small town in Jackson, Michigan, called Vandercook Lake. Here, I live with my three younger brothers, my parents, and my extremely hyperactive dog. We moved to a new house when I was 3 years old due to its bigger size and better location. It is located about 4 minutes away from the high school and middle school, and about 6 minutes from the elementary. So it was a given that we would attend Vandercook Lake Public Schools. I never really enjoyed going to school, especially during my elementary years. I've always been extremely shy, but when I was younger, it was much, much worse. I was lucky enough, though, to have had a teacher who genuinely cared. She was aware of my intense introvertedness and developed a plan for me. As a kindergartner near the end of the school year, she would take me down to her first, second grade multi-age classroom. This way I could transition into the first grade a little bit smoother. She was extremely nice and always made sure I felt welcomed by not only herself, but by the older students as well. I spent my next 2 years with her, and this time I remember breaking out of my shell a little bit. I became comfortable around her and in her classroom. Along with being kind and understanding, Mrs. A was just the right amount of tough on her students as well. She knew I was capable of doing more than I thought I was capable of doing. Because of her, I accelerated in reading. By the third grade, I had finished the first two Harry Potter books, and by the end of the fourth grade, I had finished the entire series. They became my favorite books, and I have to thank her for pushing me to where I needed to be both academically and socially. Sadly, the social progress I had made in her class was impeded. Every day we would spend an hour in our sister classroom, and this is where the incident happened that had halted the progress I'd made. In this room, I never felt completely safe, like a student should. The teacher of this classroom was rarely any of the things Mrs. A was. She was always much harsher on her students and never cared to elaborate on any of the questions when we needed help. Even though I dreaded my time with her, I went happily every day. It wasn't until the incident happened that I tried to get out of going. Now, this incident may seem small to everyone else, but it wasn't to me. This memory has stuck with me after all these years. It is the reason why she is and has always been my least favorite teacher. During one of our regular visits in our classroom, I made a big mistake. I quietly rose from my seat and approached her. I was terrified of talking to her. I never really had to before. I politely asked her if I could please use the restroom. Her response was, "Fine, but don't you ever talk to me in that baby voice again." I was hurt and scared by this. I wasn't talking in any particular voice, I was talking in my voice. I spent the rest of the day crying on and off. My mom had to talk me into going to school every day for the rest of the school year, just because I didn't want to be near her. It's funny what memories choose to stick with you and what ones vanish without a trace. As an adult, as a teacher, I don't believe she should have said this to me. This one tiny conversation made it difficult for me to continue to grow out of my shell. Sometimes I wonder why she thought this was an okay thing to say to me. I figure it had to be a mixture of her being tired of teaching and her not thinking. Luckily, by middle school, Mrs. A, along with some other great teachers, had gotten me to a point where I was academically successful, had friends, and was playing sports. I was still very shy, though. It wasn't until the 8th grade when I met my match. No teacher had ever been able to break me. I was quiet through and through. This teacher, however, poked and prodded at me until I broke out of my shell. I put up a pretty good fight, though. It took until 10th grade for me to actually like him. Mr. R was always someone you could count on. He was always there for any student, no matter who you were. He didn't have to earn anyone's respect, it was just expected, and he always gave his back regardless. Every student, teacher, and faculty member knew, respected, and looked up to him. He had taught and coached both track and cross country for the majority of his life. I joined both of these sports in high school because of him. He never made things easy on me either. I always knew he would tell me the truth and hold me accountable for my actions. He's always been one of those teachers you couldn't handle disappointing. During our years together, we grew close. Mr. R was the one who pushed me to pursue my dreams and not anyone else's. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for him. I'm extremely thankful to have had him and his guidance during my high school years. I can only hope to be half of the teacher and half of the person he is one day.